The billionaire stood in front of a broken supercar, shouting, not imagining that the repair would come from the sidewalk. A barefoot girl with a determined look offered to help in exchange for food and was laughed at. But when she brought the engine back to life with a toothbrush and alcohol, the laughter turned to silence. That child hid a gift, a painful past, and a secret that will shock you. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The late afternoon heat was stifling in Detroit, the air thick with humidity and tension. Outside Thornton's elite auto service, a crowd had gathered to witness an unusual confrontation. Robert "Bobby" Thornton, the eccentric tech billionaire known for his electric vehicle innovations and explosive temper, was shouting at the mechanics who refused to prioritize his vehicle over their scheduled appointments. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Thornton's voice carried across the parking lot. His hybrid supercar, a custom-built masterpiece worth more than most people's homes, had stalled in downtown traffic, forcing him to have it towed to the nearest high-end service center. "I have a meeting with investors in an hour." Asterisk. The head mechanic, arms crossed firmly over his chest, remained unmoved. "Mr. Thornton, we understand your frustration, but we have protocols. There are 3 cars ahead of yours." Asterisk. The tension in the air was palpable when a small, clear voice cut through the commotion. "I can fix it for food." Asterisk. The unexpected offer caused everyone to fall silent. Standing on the sidewalk was a girl no older than 7, barefoot with dirt-smudged overalls and wild auburn hair pulled back with a rubber band. Her green eyes studied the supercar with unusual intensity. Thornton S laughter was the first to break the silence. "That's cute, kid. Now run along." "It's the phase sensor," the girl said calmly, approaching the vehicle. "It's sending the wrong signal to the hybrid system." Asterisk. The mechanics exchanged amused glances. One of them, a young man named Mike, mockingly handed her the diagnostic scanner. "Sure thing, little genius. Show us how it's done." Asterisk. To everyone's surprise, the girl, Lily Morgan was her name, though no one had asked, connected the device with practiced ease. Her small fingers navigated through the diagnostic system with surprising familiarity. She read the error codes aloud, explaining each one as if teaching a class. "See, right here. Phase synchronization failure." She pointed to a specific line on the screen. "You got any isopropyl alcohol and maybe an old toothbrush?" Asterisk. Mike, still smirking, provided what she requested. The crowd watched in disbelief as Lily climbed partially into the engine bay, located the connector, carefully cleaned the contact points with the toothbrush dipped in alcohol, and reset the central computer. Asterisk. When Thornton turned the key, the engine purred to life, sounding better than it had in months. Asterisk. The billionaire's jaw dropped. "That's impossible. Even my engineers at Thornton Motors haven't perfected that system yet." Asterisk. Lily wiped her hands on her already dirty overalls. "Engines talk if you listen right," she said with a shrug. "My daddy taught me that." Asterisk. Thornton reached for his wallet, pulling out several $100 bills. "Here, kid, you've earned this." Asterisk. Lily shook her head. "Don't want money. Got no place to keep it safe. A grilled cheese sandwich would be nice, though, and maybe some apple juice, if you have it." Asterisk. The simplicity of her request stunned Thornton. He watched as Mike, now respectful, guided Lily inside the service center's break room to get her something to eat. Asterisk. Unbeknownst to any of them, a customer had recorded the entire interaction on his phone. By nightfall, the video had gone viral. The image was perfect for the internet's appetite. A dirty-faced, barefoot little girl fixing a billionaire's supercar and asking only for a sandwich in return. People called her the girl who hears engines, and social media couldn't get enough. Asterisk. 3 days later, another video surfaced. This time, Lily was helping a family whose SUV had broken down on their way to a hospital with a sick child. She'd diagnosed a fuel pump failure just by listening to the engine, then rigged a temporary solution using parts from a nearby auto store. Asterisk. In the rundown neighborhood beneath the Roosevelt Bridge, Lily returned to the small, dilapidated shack she shared with her grandmother, Martha Morgan. The elderly woman was dozing in her threadbare armchair, the television flickering in the background. "Grandma, I brought dinner," Lily said softly, placing a paper bag on their wobbly table. She'd stopped at a local diner that had offered her free meals for a week after the owner recognized her from the videos. Martha stirred, her cloudy eyes struggling to focus. "Jack? Is that you, Jack?" "No, Grandma, it's me, Lily." She gently squeezed her grandmother's hand. "Daddy's not here." Martha's momentary confusion cleared. "Of course, sweetheart. I was just dreaming, I suppose." She looked at the food Lily had brought. "You're such a good girl, just like your father." Lily helped her grandmother to the table, carefully hiding her concern. These episodes of confusion had been happening more frequently lately. After dinner, while Martha dozed again, Lily slipped out to their small shed behind the house. Inside, illuminated by a single bare bulb, was her sanctuary, an assortment of salvaged engine parts, old manuals, and tools she'd collected from junkyards. On the wall hung a faded photograph of a handsome man in racing gear, smiling broadly next to a championship trophy. Jack Morgan had been a legendary driver and self-taught mechanical genius who could diagnose engine problems just by their sound. "I fixed another one today, Daddy," Lily whispered to the photo. "You would have been proud." She ran her fingers over an old timing belt he had given her on her 5th birthday. "If I knew then what I know now, maybe I could have saved you." The weight of those words hung in the musty air of the shed. Jack Morgan had been lost 2 years earlier while testing a new automotive safety system. The official explanation? Mechanical failure. But Lily had always suspected there was more to the story. Her father's voice seemed to echo in the small space. "Engines don't lie, Lilypad. People do." Meanwhile, across town in his penthouse overlooking the Detroit River, Bobby Thornton was obsessively watching every video of Lily that had appeared online. He'd run a background check and discovered her tragic story: the impoverished granddaughter of a woman with advancing dementia, daughter of Jack Morgan, a racing legend who had died under mysterious circumstances. "She's incredible," Thornton muttered, rewatching her fix his car for the 20th time. "She has a gift." His phone rang. The caller ID displayed Harrison Wells, the CEO of Ameri Motors, Detroit's largest automotive corporation. "Bobby," Wells's smooth voice carried an edge of concern. "We need to talk about this child mechanic who's suddenly all over the internet." "What? About her?" Thornton asked, instantly defensive. "Look, we shouldn't be romanticizing the parlor tricks of some poor kid. This is engineering, not magic. Having untrained children meddling with complex automotive systems sets a dangerous precedent." Thornton's grip tightened on his phone. "She fixed a synchronization problem my own engineers have been struggling with for months, Harrison. Blind luck. Or worse, a publicity stunt. Please tell me you're not buying into this nonsense." After hanging up, Thornton stared out at the city lights. Harrison Wells had always represented everything Thornton despised about the traditional automotive industry: the arrogance, the resistance to change, the dismissal of natural talent in favor of credentials. An idea began to form in his mind. He had been looking for a new philanthropic venture, something with real impact. What if? The next morning, Thornton instructed his driver to take him to the Roosevelt Bridge. He needed to find the girl who could hear engines speak. For Lily, that day began like any other, helping her grandmother dress, making sure she took her medication, and preparing a simple breakfast before heading out to the nearby junkyard to scavenge for parts. She had no idea that her life was about to change forever, or that the engines she loved would soon reveal secrets that had been silenced for years. The black luxury SUV looked distinctly out of place in the shabby neighborhood beneath Roosevelt Bridge. Bobby Thornton stepped out, his Italian leather shoes immediately collecting dust from the unpaved road. He spotted Lily emerging from a rusty gate that led to Gus's salvage yard, pulling a small wagon filled with discarded auto parts. "Lily? Morgan?" he called out, approaching carefully. Asterisk. She squinted at him, recognition dawning slowly. You're the man with the broken supercar. Asterisk Thornton smiled. That's right. I wanted to talk to you about something important. Lily's expression remained guarded. Gotta get home to Grandma soon. She forgets to turn off the stove sometimes. I'll walk with you, Thornton offered, falling into step beside her. Those videos of you fixing cars have made quite an impression. People shouldn't film others without asking, she replied, continuing to pull her wagon. Makes Grandma nervous. Asterisk. As they approached the small shack Lily called home, Thornton struggled to hide his shock at the living conditions. The roof was patched with corrugated metal, windows repaired with duct tape, and the porch sagged dangerously. Asterisk. Martha Morgan appeared in the doorway, her thin frame swaying slightly. Lily, who's this fancy man? He's the one with the car I fixed, Grandma, Mr. Thornton. Please call me Bobby, he said, extending his hand to Martha, who looked at it with confusion before taking it hesitantly. Asterisk inside comma. The poverty was even more apparent. The furniture was worn beyond repair. Water stains marked the ceiling and the refrigerator hummed loudly, struggling to function. Yet despite everything, the small space was meticulously clean. Would you like some water, Mr. Thornton? Martha offered, her southern hospitality emerging through her confusion. It's all we have to offer, I'm afraid. Water would be perfect, thank you, he replied, watching as Lily helped her grandmother fill a glass from a filtered pitcher. Clearly the girl's attempt to ensure clean water for her ailing grandmother. Asterisk. As Martha settled into her armchair, occasionally muttering to herself, Lily explained their situation. In hushed tones, her father, Jack Morgan, had been raising her alone after her mother left when Lily was just a baby. When Jack passed 2 years ago, Martha was the only family left to take Lily in. Daddy was testing a new safety system, Lily explained, her voice dropping even lower. Something he'd been working on for years. It was supposed to prevent collisions by taking control of the vehicle when it detected danger. But during the final test, something went wrong. I remember that incident, Thornton said, a memory clicking into place. Jack Morgan, he was testing a prototype for Ameri Motors, wasn't he? Asterisk. Lily nodded. Harrison Wells hired him personally. Daddy was excited because Mr. Wells promised to make the system standard in all their cars, said it would save thousands of lives. Her small fingers fidgeted with a wrench. But after what happened, they said the system was flawed. They scrapped the whole project. Asterisk. Thornton watched her carefully. You don't believe it was just a mechanical failure, do you? Daddy always triple-checked everything. He made me promise to do the same. Her green eyes met Thornton's with unexpected intensity. The day before the test, he told me, Lilypad, remember that engines speak the truth when people won't. Asterisk. Martha suddenly sat upright in her chair. Jack always said that girl had magic in her fingers, could hear an engine's heartbeat since she was 3. She smiled proudly, momentarily lucid. Used to put her up on his shoulders in the garage, let her listen to the motors. By 5, she was handing him tools before he even asked for them. Asterisk. Thornton leaned forward. Martha, do you remember anything about Jack's safety system? Anything he might have told you? Asterisk. The elderly woman's eyes grew distant. Green wires, she murmured. He was always talking about the green wires. Just as quickly, her focus faded, and she began humming an old tune to herself. Asterisk. Lily led Thornton outside to her shed, flipping on the single light bulb. The space was remarkably organized for a child's workshop, with tools hanging in precise arrangements and parts categorized in labeled containers. This was Daddy's toolbox, she said, patting a worn red metal case. I take it everywhere I go. Asterisk. Thornton examined the impressive collection of specialized tools. These aren't cheap, he observed. Daddy said good tools are worth saving for. She opened a drawer, revealing a stack of technical manuals. I've been teaching myself to read these. The big words are hard sometimes, but the diagrams make sense. Asterisk. Thornton picked up one of the manuals, Advanced Fuel Injection Systems, Material. That would challenge engineering students, let alone a 7-year-old. Yet the pages were marked with careful notes in a child's handwriting, demonstrating remarkable comprehension. "Lily, I have a proposition for you," Thornton said, replacing the manual. "I want to create a place where you can teach others what you know and where you can learn even more. A center for automotive innovation focused on helping kids from neighborhoods like yours." Lily looked skeptical. "Like a school?" "More than a school. A garage, a classroom, a community. We'd call it the Future Garage Center. You would be at its heart." "What about Grandma?" "We'd find a better place for both of you to live. Somewhere safe, with medical care for your grandmother." Lily considered this, her young face serious beyond her years. "Why would you do that? For us?" Thornton chose his words carefully. "Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted, and because I think your father was onto something important, something that might have been," he hesitated, "misrepresented." Before Lily could respond, they heard Martha calling frantically from the house. They rushed inside to find her in distress, convinced that Jack was coming home for dinner, and she needed to prepare his favorite meal. "It's okay, Grandma," Lily soothed, guiding her back to her chair. "Let me make you some tea." Thornton watched as this small child handled her grandmother's confusion with practiced patience. Once Martha had calmed, Lily returned to their conversation. "If I help with your center," she said quietly, "can I still look for answers about my daddy?" "I promise we'll search for the truth together," Thornton replied. The next day, Thornton's offer made headlines in Detroit. Millionaire launches Future Garage Center with child prodigy. The announcement included plans for a state-of-the-art facility in a renovated warehouse, scholarships for underprivileged youth, and comprehensive technical training programs. Harrison Wells wasted no time responding. In a widely broadcast interview, the Ameri Motors CEO smiled condescendingly at the camera. "While I applaud Mr. Thornton's charitable impulses, we shouldn't confuse parlor tricks with engineering expertise. This girl's so-called talent is merely an anecdotal curiosity, not something upon which to base educational policy." The comment sparked immediate backlash. Social media erupted with debate, and overnight, Lily became a symbol in a larger cultural conversation about innate talent versus formal education, about who gets to define expertise. For Lily, however, the stakes were more personal. As she packed her father's tools into a box, preparing for the move to their new apartment near the center, she whispered to his photograph, "I'm going to find out what really happened to you, Daddy. I promise." Across town, Harrison Wells slammed, his office door shouting at his assistant to hold all calls. He unlocked a hidden drawer in his desk and pulled out a worn file labeled Project Guardian Morgan J. Inside was a single photograph of Jack Morgan standing proudly next to a test vehicle, his arm around a younger Harrison Wells. Paperclipped to it was a small green wire dot asterisk. Wells stared at the photo for a long moment before carefully returning it to the folder. He picked up his phone and dialed a number from memory. "It's me," he said when the call connected. "We may have a problem. Morgan's daughter is working with Thornton now." He listened briefly. "No, nothing concrete, but the girl is unnervingly perceptive. Yes, I understand the implications. I'll handle it." As the Future Garage Center took shape over the following weeks, Lily and Martha settled into their new apartment. A modest but clean two-bedroom unit with proper heating, working appliances, and a small balcony where Martha could sit and watch. The neighborhood. A home health aide now visited daily, ensuring Martha took her medications and helping with basic care. Lily divided her time between helping set up the center and exploring the massive warehouse space. She was particularly drawn to a back room that Thornton had designated as a memorial gallery to showcase the history of American automotive innovation. He'd promised that Jack Morgan would have a place of honor there. One evening, as contractors finished up for the day, Lily wandered through the empty building, listening to the echoes of her footsteps on the concrete floor. In the fading light, she ran her hands along workbenches that would soon be filled with eager students. "I wish you could see this, Daddy," she whispered, her voice reverberating in the vast space. Asterisk. She didn't notice the dark sedan parked across the street, or the man with binoculars watching her through the windows, nor did she see him speak urgently into a phone before driving away. Asterisk. The future garage center was set to open in 3 weeks, and Bobby Thornton was sparing no expense for the grand inauguration. What no one realized was that forces were already aligning against them, forces determined to keep certain engines permanently silenced. The grand opening of the future garage center exceeded even Thornton's ambitious vision. The renovated warehouse gleamed with state-of-the-art equipment, colorful murals depicting Detroit's automotive history, and workstations designed to accommodate students of all ages and abilities. More than 500 people attended, including local officials, educational leaders, and families from throughout Detroit's struggling neighborhoods. Lily, dressed in a new pair of overalls with the Future Garage logo embroidered on the pocket, stood nervously beside Thornton as he cut the ceremonial ribbon. Cameras flashed, capturing the unlikely pair, the billionaire in his tailored suit and the small girl whose talent had inspired it all. "This center belongs to the community," Thornton announced, his voice carrying across the crowd. "To every kid who's been told they don't have what it takes, to every person with natural talent who's been denied opportunity. Today we start changing that story." Asterisk. When it was Lily's turn to speak, she stepped forward hesitantly. The microphone had to be lowered significantly for her to reach it. "My daddy always said that engines have a voice," she said softly. The crowd hushed to hear her. "He taught me that if you listen careful enough, they'll tell you what they need. I think people are like that too. We all just need someone to listen, right?" She paused, gaining confidence. "At this center, we're gonna listen to both." Asterisk. The applause was thunderous, and for the first time since her father's accident, Lily felt something like hope taking root. Asterisk. Within weeks, the center was thriving. Children from across Detroit's most underserved neighborhoods filled the workshops, many discovering talents they never knew they possessed. Adult education classes operated in the evenings, offering certification programs for those seeking employment in Detroit's automotive sector. Asterisk. At the center of it all was Lily, who, despite her age, commanded respect from students 3 times her size. In one corner of the main workshop floor, she'd established what everyone called the listening station, a diagnostic area where people brought particularly challenging mechanical problems. "Close your eyes," she instructed 16-year-old Darnell Williams one afternoon as he struggled with a carburetor rebuild. "Don't look at it. Listen to what it's telling you." Asterisk. Darnell, skeptical but willing, closed his eyes. "What do you hear?" Lily asked, starting the small test engine they were working on. It's making a weird clicking sound." "Good. Now, touch the housing. What do you feel?" "It's vibrating funny on the left side." "That's right." Lily grinned. "The float valve is sticking. Your hands and ears figured it out before your eyes could." Asterisk. Moments like these were becoming legendary. Among the students, word spread, and soon the center had a waiting list for enrollment. Local businesses began donating equipment, universities offered partnerships, and a documentary crew arrived to capture the phenomenon. Asterisk. But not everyone celebrated their success. Asterisk. Harrison. Wells watched the growing publicity with mounting concern. After declining an invitation to tour the facility, he called an emergency meeting with the Merry Motors board of directors. "This Thornton publicity stunt has gone far enough," Wells declared, pacing the boardroom. "The Morgan girl is drawing too much attention. People are asking questions about Jack Morgan again, about his safety system." "It's been 2 years," one board member noted. "The accident investigation was conclusive." Asterisk. Wells slammed his hand on the table. "Nothing is conclusive. When it comes to public perception, Project Guardian represented a $100 million investment. If anyone starts digging—" "Harrison," interrupted Eleanor Blackwood, the longest-serving board member, "what exactly are you worried they'll find?" Asterisk. The question hung in the air. Wells straightened his tie. "Nothing to find," he said coolly. I just don't want a Merry Motors associated with a child's science fair project. Our company builds on engineering excellence, not feel-good stories about orphans. Asterisk, meanwhile, oblivious to these corporate machinations, Lily was making a discovery of her own asterisk. She had been helping organize the center's newly donated library of technical manuals when she noticed a weathered cardboard box tucked behind a filing cabinet. Inside was a collection of notebooks, diagrams, and a sealed envelope with J. Morgan, written in faded ink. Asterisk, Lily, quote, S. heart pounded. These were her father's journals. Asterisk. She quickly gathered the materials and retreated to a quiet corner office, closing the door behind her. With trembling hands, she opened the first notebook. Asterisk. The pages were filled with her father's distinctive handwriting, meticulous notes on his safety system, design iterations, test results. She traced her fingers over his words, feeling closer to him than she had in years. Asterisk. Near the back of the notebook, a single sentence made her blood run cold. If anything happens to me, look for the green wires. Asterisk. Lily stared at the message, her father's voice seeming to whisper directly into her ear. She carefully opened the sealed envelope. Inside was a small flash drive and a handwritten note. Insurance policy. Eyes only. Asterisk. Before she could explore further, there was a knock at the so she quickly tucked the flash drive into her pocket and closed the notebook as Thornton entered. There you are. The advanced diagnostics class is waiting for you, he said cheerfully before noticing her expression. Lily, what's wrong? Asterisk. She hesitated, then held up the notebook. These were my daddy's. They were hidden here. Thornton's smile faded. He closed the door and sat across from her. What did you find? He left a warning about green wires and this. She showed him the note with the flash drive. I think he knew something might happen to him. Asterisk. Thornton carefully examined the materials. We should look at what's on this drive. Asterisk. Together, they moved to Thornton's office where he inserted the flash drive into his computer. The screen remained blank for a moment before a password prompt appeared. Try your birthday, Thornton suggested. Asterisk. Lily typed in the date. Access denied. His birthday. Asterisk. Access denied. Asterisk. Lily thought hard, then typed Lilypad, her father's nickname for her. Asterisk. The drive unlocked, revealing dozens of files with technical names and date stamps. Most were technical specifications and test results, but one video file was simply labeled Truth. Asterisk. Thornton clicked on it, and Jack Morgan's face filled the screen. He looked tired, worried, but determined. Lily gasped softly, reaching toward the image of her father. If you're watching this, Jack began, then I've either shared this with you directly or something has happened to me. This is the truth about Project Guardian. Asterisk. He explained that the safety system he'd developed was revolutionary, capable of preventing thousands of accidents annually. But during final testing, he'd discovered a critical flaw. The system could be remotely overridden. Someone deliberately built a backdoor into Guardian, Jack continued, his expression grim. When I confronted management, they claimed it was for emergency services access. But the design, it's too hidden, too sophisticated. This isn't about safety, it's about control. Asterisk. The video ended abruptly. Lily and Thornton sat in stunned silence. He was trying to fix it, Lily whispered, before the final demonstration. Asterisk. Thornton nodded slowly. And if someone didn't want that fix to happen? Asterisk. The implications hung heavily between them. Thornton quickly copied the files to his secure server and removed the flash drive, returning it to Lily. We need to be careful with this information, he warned. If what your father suspected is true, there are powerful people who wouldn't want this getting out. Asterisk. That night, as Lily helped Martha prepare for bed in their apartment, she was unusually quiet, her mind racing with questions about her father's message. You've got that look, Martha observed, her clarity momentarily sharp. Same look your daddy got when an engine wasn't speaking clear to him. Lily smiled weakly. Just thinking about some stuff at the center, Grandma. Martha patted her hand. Jack always said you had his gift, said you could hear things others couldn't. She paused, her gaze drifting slightly. He was worried. No, those last weeks. Lily's attention sharpened. About what, Grandma? Green wires, Martha murmured, her focus already beginning to slip. He kept checking for green wires. Asterisk. Before Lily could ask more, Martha's home health aide, Nancy, arrived for the night shift. Lily kissed her grandmother goodnight and retreated to her room, where she hid the flash drive in a secret compartment she'd built into her toolbox. Asterisk. Unknown to Lily, across town, Harrison Wells was receiving a troubling report from the private investigator he'd hired to monitor the future garage center. The girl found something today, the investigator explained. She and Thornton spent over an hour reviewing files in his office. They looked concerned. Wells steepled his fingers. Any indication what they found? No clear visuals through the windows, but afterward Thornton upgraded the center's security system, added cameras, changed access codes. Wells dismissed the investigator and poured himself a drink, staring out at the Detroit skyline. He'd worked too hard, come too far to let a child and a billionaire playing philanthropist derail everything. He picked up his phone. It's time to move to the next phase, he told the person on the other end. Make it look like an accident. As a severe thunderstorm rolled across Detroit the following night, the future garage center stood empty and dark. The security cameras recorded the moment when a bolt of lightning struck nearby, causing a momentary power surge. What they didn't capture was the figure who used that moment to enter through a service door, carrying a small package. By the time the first security guard noticed smoke billowing from the east wing, flames had already engulfed the main workshop area. Despite the fire department's quick response, the storm's intensity hampered their efforts. By dawn, nearly half the center lay in ruins, including the library where Lily had found her father's notebooks. When Thornton called to break the news, Lily dropped the phone and ran from the apartment, ignoring Nancy's calls to wait. She raced through the rain-soaked streets, not stopping until she reached the smoldering building. Firefighters were still working to contain hotspots as Lily pushed through the police barrier, her small size allowing her to slip past unnoticed. She made it to the east wing entrance before a firefighter caught her. "Whoa, kid, you can't go in there, it's not stable." "My daddy's things were in there," she cried, struggling against his hold. The commotion drew Thornton's attention. He rushed over, taking Lily gently by the shoulders. "Lily, it's too dangerous, we have to wait." As the rain continued to fall, they stood together watching the firefighters work, Lily's tears mixing with the raindrops on her face. The center that had represented so much hope now stood partially destroyed, smoke still rising from the charred remains. Official cause was electrical, failure due to the lightning strike, the fire chief told them later that morning. "Storm like that, old wiring in the building, it was just bad luck." But as crews began clearing debris from the library area, Lily spotted something among the ashes that made her heart stop. A partially melted strand of green wire. Lily's hand trembled as she pointed to the melted green wire in the debris. "Mr. Thornton," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise of the cleanup crew. "Look." Thornton followed her gaze, then quickly positioned himself to block others' view. With a swift motion, he retrieved the wire fragment and slipped. "Tie it into his pocket." "Not here," he murmured, guiding Lily away from the workers. They retreated to Thornton's car, parked at a safe distance from the damaged building. Once inside, Lily burst into tears, not the quiet, controlled crying she usually allowed herself, but deep, racking sobs that shook her small frame. "They did it again," she choked out between breaths, "just like they did to Daddy." Thornton placed the wire fragment in a small evidence bag. "We don't know that for certain," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "The green wire?" Lily insisted, struggling to regain composure. "Daddy warned about them. Now it's here, after the fire." Her eyes, red from crying, narrowed with sudden determination. "This wasn't an accident. Asterisk Thornton started the car. We need to be strategic, Lily. Whoever might be behind this has resources, influence. We can't just make accusations without proof. The flash drive isn't enough, Thornton interjected gently. Your father's suspicions, even his video, wouldn't stand up against a Merry Motors legal team. We need more. Asterisk. As they drove through the rain-slicked streets of Detroit, Lily gazed out at the passing neighborhoods. The future garage center had begun to transform these communities, offering hope where little had existed before. Now that hope was literally going up in smoke. What do we do? She asked finally. First, we rebuild, Thornton said firmly. We show them they can't stop us that easily. Meanwhile, I'm hiring investigators, professionals who can look into the fire and your father's accident more discreetly. Asterisk. When they arrived at Lily's apartment building, they found a news van parked outside. A reporter immediately approached their car, microphone extended. Mr. Thornton, is it true the fire was caused by negligence? Critics are saying the center wasn't properly equipped with safety systems. Asterisk Thornton shielded Lily from the camera. No comment at this time. Please respect our privacy. Asterisk inside the apartment, they found Martha in a state of agitation, pacing the living room while Nancy tried to calm her. Jack is in trouble, Martha insisted, her eyes wild. I heard it on the TV. The garage is burning. It's okay, Grandma, Lily said, rushing to embrace her. I'm here, I'm safe. Asterisk Martha looked at her granddaughter with momentary clarity. Lily, oh, thank goodness. Then confusion clouded her expression again. But where's Jack? He promised to come home early today. Asterisk Lily exchanged a worried glance with Nancy as she guided her grandmother to the couch. Daddy's not coming, Grandma. Remember, he's gone. Gone fishing? Martha asked hopefully. He does love the lake. No, Grandma. Lily swallowed hard. He's gone to heaven. Asterisk. The words hung in the air, painful but necessary. Martha's face crumpled as reality briefly pierced her confusion. Oh, yes, my Jack is gone. She clutched Lily's hand. But we still have each other, don't we? Always, Lily promised, fighting back fresh tears. Asterisk. That evening, Harrison Wells held an impromptu press conference outside a Merry Motors headquarters. Expressing deep concern about the fire, he managed to subtly undermine the center's legitimacy while appearing sympathetic. This tragedy demonstrates the risks of improvisation in automotive education, he told the assembled reporters. At Merry Motors, safety is our primary concern, which is why all our training facilities exceed industry fire codes by 300%. Asterisk. The implied criticism was clear. Social media quickly filled with debates about the center's safety protocols and Thornton's responsibility. A hashtag began trending. #Who's blaming Thornton? Asterisk. Watching the coverage from his penthouse, Thornton's face hardened. He's trying to control the narrative, he muttered, muting the television. He turned to his assistant. Schedule a meeting with our PR team for first thing tomorrow and double the reward for information about the fire. Asterisk, meanwhile, the community surrounding the future garage center was mobilizing. Darnell Williams, the teenager Lily had mentored, organized fellow students to guard the remaining structure overnight. Local businesses donated materials for temporary repairs. A crowdfunding campaign launched by center alumni raised over $50,000 in the first 12 hours. Asterisk. When Thornton arrived at the site the next morning, he found dozens of volunteers already at work, clearing debris and salvaging what equipment they could. Neighbors brought food, tools, and encouragement. Mr. Thornton, called a familiar voice. Darnell approached, covered in soot but smiling. We saved most of the diagnostic computers from the West Wing. They're dusty but functional. Asterisk Thornton was visibly moved. This is unexpected. The center means something to us, Darnell explained simply. Lily taught us that when something breaks, you don't throw it away, you fix it. Asterisk. Over the following days, Lily threw herself into the rebuilding efforts, finding solace in physical labor. She worked alongside adults and teenagers, instructing, them on equipment repair with the same quiet authority she'd shown in the classroom. But those closest to her noticed changes. She was quieter, more watchful, jumping at unexpected noises. The trauma of the fire had awakened old wounds. At night, she began having nightmares about her father's accident, waking up screaming his name. During the day, she insisted on checking and rechecking the temporary security system Thornton had installed at the partially rebuilt center. Martha. Quote, S condition was deteriorating as well. The disruption to her routine and the stress of the fire had accelerated her cognitive decline. She grew increasingly confused, mistaking Lily for her long-deceased daughter, and sometimes wandering the apartment at night, looking for Jack. Nancy, the home health aide, expressed her concerns to Thornton. She needs more supervision than I can provide during my shifts, and Lily is exhausting herself trying to be both a child and a caretaker. Thornton nodded grimly. I'll arrange for additional help. But before he could implement this plan, disaster struck again. Lily returned from the center one evening to find Nancy frantically searching the apartment. She's gone, Nancy explained, panic evident in her voice. I was in the bathroom for 5 minutes. When I came out, the front door was open, and Martha was nowhere to be found. Lily's world seemed to collapse around her. Grandma's missing. They immediately called the police, but with Martha's dementia, the situation was classified as high risk. Thornton arrived within minutes of being notified, bringing his private security team to coordinate with law enforcement. As darkness fell, search parties combed the surrounding neighborhoods. Thornton deployed drones with thermal imaging cameras to scan areas too dangerous for searchers to enter on foot. Local news stations broadcast Martha's description, and volunteers distributed flyers with her photo. Lily insisted on joining the search despite Thornton's concerns about her safety. She's my grandma, she said firmly. I have to find her. Hours passed with no sign of Martha. Rain began to fall again, intensifying everyone's worry. An elderly woman with dementia out in the cold rain, possibly disoriented. The scenarios, growing in Lily's mind, became increasingly terrifying. Near midnight, as hope began to fade, Thornton's security chief received a call. Possible sighting at the old West Side transit station, he reported. Homeless man says he saw an elderly woman sitting at one of the abandoned bus stops. The decommissioned transit station was less than a mile from their apartment, but in an area most residents avoided, especially at night. Thornton and Lily raced there in his car, followed by police cruisers. Their headlights illuminated a ghostly scene, a decaying concrete shelter covered in graffiti, with a single figure sitting on a rusted bench. Martha Morgan, soaking wet and shivering, clutched something in her hands. Grandma, Lily cried, running toward her. Martha looked up, her eyes glazed, but somehow peaceful. I'm waiting for Jack, she said matter-of-factly. He called and said he's coming home. Lily knelt before her, taking her cold hands. Grandma, Daddy's not coming. Oh, he is, Martha insisted. He told me to wait right here with his special part. She opened her hands to reveal a small metal component, an ignition module from an older model car. See? He'll need this to fix the engine. Lily's heart broke anew. Martha was reliving some memory from decades past, when Jack might have called her to bring a part he needed. As paramedics arrived to check Martha's condition, Lily finally broke down completely. The weeks of stress, fear, and responsibility crashed over her like a wave. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed, collapsing against Thornton's side. I can't fix everything. I'm just a kid. The rawness of her admission stunned everyone present. For months they had watched this extraordinary child shoulder burdens that would crush most adults, rebuilding the center, caring for her grandmother, searching for truth about her father. They had forgotten she was only 7 years old. Thornton lifted her gently as the paramedics helped Martha onto a stretcher. You don't have to fix everything alone, Lily, he said softly. That's what family is for. But I don't have a family anymore, she whispered, her voice small and broken. Asterisk. Thornton looked at her with unexpected tenderness. You have us now. Everyone at the center, the community that came together, and me. We're your family. Asterisk at the E. Hospital. Doctors determined that Martha had suffered mild hypothermia but was otherwise physically unharmed. However, her cognitive evaluation showed significant deterioration. The doctor pulled Thornton and Lily aside to deliver difficult news. Your grandmother's dementia has progressed substantially, he explained gently to Lily. She needs round-the-clock professional care now. I'm recommending placement in a memory care facility. Asterisk. Lily nodded numbly beyond tears. Can it be somewhere close, so I can visit her every day? Of course, Thornton assured her, already making mental notes to find the best facility in Detroit. Nothing but the best for Martha. Asterisk. As they sat in the hospital waiting room while Martha was being treated, Lily's phone buzzed with notifications. Videos of her breakdown had gone viral, shared by bystanders who'd recognized her as the girl who hears engines. The public reaction was overwhelming. Sympathy, outrage at her circumstances, calls for support. Asterisk. By morning, the story had dominated local news and spread nationally. The heartbreaking image of the small girl who had inspired so many, now crying that she couldn't fix everything, resonated deeply. Donations flooded in for both Martha's care and the center's rebuilding. Asterisk. What neither Lily nor Thornton could have anticipated was how this moment of vulnerability would change everything. The tide of public opinion was turning against those who had dismissed her, including Harrison Wells, whose earlier comments now seemed particularly callous in light of Lily's obvious suffering. Asterisk. As Martha was settled into Lakeside Memory Care, a premier facility overlooking Lake St. Clair that Thornton had arranged, Lily stood at the window of her new room, watching the gentle waves on the lake. I'm going to fix this, Grandma, she promised quietly. I'm going to find out what happened to Daddy, and then I'm going to make sure it never happens to anyone else. Asterisk. Behind her, Martha hummed contentedly, arranging family photographs on her dresser, occasionally pausing to greet Jack in pictures as if he might answer back. 6 weeks after the fire, the future garage center reopened in a limited capacity. The West Wing, which had suffered less damage, now housed all essential operations, while reconstruction continued on the East Wing. A massive mural adorned the temporary entrance wall, a phoenix rising from flames, painted by local artists and center students. Asterisk. For the reopening ceremony, Lily stood beside Thornton, looking noticeably different. Her auburn hair was neatly braided, her overalls clean and pressed. But the most striking change was in her eyes. A new steeliness had replaced her former innocence. Welcome back, everyone, she said into the microphone, her voice steady. Engines break sometimes. So do buildings. So do people. But we fix what's broken. That's what we do here. Asterisk. The crowd erupted in applause. In the weeks following Martha's hospitalization, Lily had become something of a national symbol. The resilient child mechanic who refused to be defeated by tragedy. Major news outlets had covered her story, and donations for the center had poured in from across the country. Asterisk. After the ceremony, Thornton invited Lily to his office for what he described as an important conversation. The room was now equipped with enhanced security measures, soundproofing, signal jammers, and a sophisticated lock system. I have updates, Thornton said once they were alone. First, the investigators found residue of an accelerant near where the fire started. It wasn't just an electrical failure. Asterisk. Lily nodded, unsurprised. The green wire. Exactly, and there's more. Thornton pulled up a document on his computer. We've been combing through Ameri Motors' financial records, the public ones at least. 3 months before your father's accident, the company quietly acquired a small tech firm specializing in remote vehicle access systems. For the backdoor Daddy found, Lily murmured. Possibly. The timing is suspicious. Thornton leaned back in his chair. But here's where it gets complicated. So I've been approached about expanding the center. Expanding how? Major corporate sponsors want to create a nationwide network of future garage centers, millions in funding, opportunities for thousands of kids like you. He studied her reaction carefully. It would mean partnering with some big names in the automotive industry, including subsidiary companies within the Millionaire Motors family. Lily's expression hardened. "You want to work with the people who might have hurt my daddy? Who burned our center?" "I don't want to," Thornton clarified, "but we need to consider the bigger picture. If we want to survive long term, we need those resources, and getting inside their corporate structure might give us access to information we couldn't get otherwise." Asterisk. For a long moment, Lily stared at the Phoenix mural visible through the office window. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet but firm. "If growing bigger means becoming like the people who sabotaged my daddy, then I'd rather it all end right now." Asterisk. Thornton sighed, looking suddenly tired. "I understand your position, Lily. I do. But sometimes in business." "This isn't just business to me," she interrupted, a rare defiance in her tone. "This is about doing what's right." Asterisk. The tension between them was palpable. Before Thornton could respond, his assistant knocked urgently on the door. "Mr. Thornton, there's a man here insisting on speaking with you. Says he used to work for Millionaire Motors. Says it's about Jack Morgan." Asterisk. The man who entered the office moments later was nervous, constantly glancing over his shoulder despite the center's security. He introduced himself as Edward Barnes, former senior engineer at a Millionaire Motors safety division. "I worked with Jack on Project Guardian," he explained, refusing the offered seat. "I've been following the news about the center, about Lily. After seeing what happened to her grandmother," he trailed off, clearly emotional. "I can't stay silent anymore." Asterisk. From his briefcase, Barnes extracted a thumb drive and a folder of documents. "These are internal memos about Project Guardian, the real story, not the sanitized version Millionaire Motors released to the public." Asterisk. Thornton accepted the materials cautiously. "Why come forward now?" Asterisk. Barnes looked at Lily. "Because Jack was my friend, and because what they did to him wasn't right." He hesitated. "I was part of the team that designed the backdoor access. We were told it was for emergency services, police, paramedics, but the implementation was all wrong for that purpose." "Wrong how?" Lily asked. "Too sophisticated, too hidden. Emergency systems need to be straightforward, accessible in crisis situations. This was different, more like a surveillance system." Barnes checked his watch nervously. "I've said too much already. I can't be seen here." Asterisk. After Barnes departed, Thornton and Lily examined the documents. They detailed a systematic effort to undermine Jack's safety concerns, internal memos discussing the potential financial impact of recall scenarios, and most damning communications, suggesting the need to resolve the Morgan situation permanently. "This is it," Lily whispered. "Proof that they did something to Daddy." Asterisk. Thornton nodded grimly. "Barnes is taking an enormous risk bringing us this. It still might not be enough for legal action, but it's a start." Asterisk. The revelation of Barnes's evidence created new divisions within the center. When Thornton shared the information with the senior staff, opinions split sharply. Some believed they should use the momentum to expand nationally, gaining influence to effect broader change. Others, led by Darnell Williams, argued they should focus on building an uncompromised local model first. "Why grow just to be like them?" Darnell challenged during a heated meeting. "Lily's right. We need to stand for something different." Asterisk. The debate raged for days. Thornton, caught between his business instincts and his growing personal investment in Lily's cause, became increasingly withdrawn. Rumors circulated that major funders were threatening to pull support if the center didn't professionalize, code for distancing itself from Lily's quest regarding her father. Asterisk. Meanwhile, Harrison Wells monitored these developments with mounting concern. The center's reopening had generated renewed media interest in Jack Morgan's work, and Barnes's disappearance from Millionaire Motors had not gone unnoticed. "Find Barnes," Wells instructed his head of security. "I want to know exactly what he took and who he's talked to." Asterisk. Wells scheduled an emergency board meeting to address ongoing brand vulnerabilities related to the Morgan safety system. The board was divided. Some members worried about potential legal and public relations disasters if Jack Morgan's claims proved true. Others insisted on maintaining the official position that his accident had been his own fault. Eleanor Blackwood, the veteran board member, remained the most vocal skeptic. Harrison, you personally vouched for the safety of that system. If there was a deliberate backdoor that wasn't disclosed, she left the implication hanging. The backdoor was a security feature, Wells insisted, standard industry practice. Not if it was designed to be hidden from regulators, Blackwood countered. Not if it contributed to Morgan's accident. Asterisk. The tension extended to Lily's daily life. At Martha's care facility, she maintained a brave face, reading to her grandmother and sharing stories about the center's progress. But the strain was evident to the staff, who noted that the 7-year-old often fell asleep in the visitor's chair, exhausted from dividing her time between the center, the investigation, and these visits. Dr. Reynolds, Martha's geriatric specialist, pulled Lily aside after one particularly difficult visit where Martha had failed to recognize her granddaughter. "Lily, I'm concerned about you," the doctor said gently. "You're carrying adult burdens on very young shoulders." Lily shrugged, a gesture she'd unconsciously adopted from Thornton. "Someone has to." "No, that's just it. They don't. You're entitled to a childhood, Lily. Your father would want that. For you." The words hit harder than Dr. Reynolds could have anticipated. That night, alone in the apartment Thornton had arranged for her, with a live-in caretaker who gave her appropriate space, Lily wept for the first time since Martha's hospitalization. She found herself in the small workshop Thornton had set up for her in the spare bedroom. Surrounded by her tools and half-finished projects, she spoke aloud as if her father could hear. "I don't know what to do, Daddy. Mr. Thornton wants to make the center bigger, work with the same people who might have hurt you. Some of the others." "Think he's right." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm trying to listen like you taught me, but there are too many voices now. I can't hear what's right." The following morning, Lily arrived at the center earlier than usual. She wandered through the quiet workshop, running her hands along the tools and machines, listening, as her father had taught her, to the subtle language of mechanical things. She was so absorbed that she didn't immediately notice Thornton watching her from the doorway, his expression troubled. "Lily," he said softly, "we need to talk." They sat on workshop stools facing each other. "I've been thinking about what you said," Thornton began, "about not wanting to become like the people who hurt your father." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "When I started this center, it was partly for publicity, I'll admit that. Another philanthropic project to add to my resume." Lily nodded. She had suspected as much. "But then I watched you work. I saw how you listen, really listen. Not just to engines, but to people." He smiled faintly. "It changed something in me. Made me remember why I got into this industry in the first place. To build things that help people," Lily suggested. "Exactly." Thornton took a deep breath. "I've decided not to pursue the national expansion, at least not with corporate partners. We'll grow organically, training students who can start their own centers in other communities." Relief washed over Lily's face. "Really?" "Really. This place should be about integrity, not just scale." He hesitated. "But there's something else. Barnes contacted me again last night. He's been officially reported missing by his family." Lily's eyes widened. "Do you think—" "I don't know, but it means we need to move faster with what we know." Thornton lowered his voice further. "I've scheduled a meeting with the State Attorney General's office for next week. We're going to present everything we have about your father's case and the fire." Before Lily could respond, they were interrupted by shouts from the front of the building. They rushed to investigate and found Darnell blocking the entrance, facing off against 2 men in expensive suits. "You can't just walk in here demanding to see people," Darnell was saying, his teenage frame stretched to its full height. "It's a simple courtesy call," one of the men replied smoothly. Mary Motors wishes to discuss potential collaboration with Mr. Thornton. Thornton stepped forward. I'm Thornton, and we have no interest in collaborating with Mary Motors. The men exchanged glances. Mr. Wells thought you might say that. He asked us to give you this. He handed Thornton an envelope, a formal cease and desist regarding certain allegations that have been circulating, and a reminder that falsely accusing a public company can have serious consequences. As they turned to leave, the second man looked directly at Lily. Miss Morgan, Mr. Wells also wanted us to express his concern for your grandmother's ongoing care. Quality memory facilities are so expensive these days. It would be a shame if anything disrupted her treatment. The thinly veiled threat hung in the air as the men departed. Lily's hands trembled with a combination of fear and rage. They're threatening Grandma now, she whispered. Thornton Quota's expression darkened. That crosses a line. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling my security team. We're moving up our timeline. That evening, while Thornton coordinated with his legal team, Lily sat beside Martha's bed at the care facility. Her grandmother was having one of her better days, lucid enough to recognize Lily and ask about the center. They're trying to stop us, Grandma, Lily admitted, holding Martha's frail hand. The same people who hurt Daddy. Martha squeezed her hand with surprising strength. Your daddy never backed down from bullies. Neither should you. Her eyes, momentarily clear, fixed on Lily's. Jack always said the truth speaks loudest when everything else goes quiet. The simple wisdom of her grandmother's words stayed with Lily as she returned to the center, where Thornton and his team were preparing for their meeting with state authorities. The documents were organized, the testimonies prepared, but something still felt incomplete to Lily. We need to show them, not just tell them, she said suddenly. Show them what? Thornton asked. The green wire, the back door, all of it. She looked around at the rebuilt workshop. And I know exactly how to do it. The atmosphere at the future garage center crackled with tension as Lily outlined her plan. Using the technical specifications from her father's files and Barnes's documents, she proposed building a working demonstration of Project Guardian, complete with the hidden back door that had allegedly led to her father's accident. If we can show exactly how it works, how someone could remotely override the safety systems, people will have to believe us, she explained, sketching rapidly on a whiteboard. The senior staff gathered around, expressions ranging from skepticism to admiration. This is incredibly complex work, Thornton cautioned. Your father spent years developing Guardian. I know, Lily acknowledged, but we don't need to recreate the entire system, just enough to demonstrate the flaw he discovered. Darnell studied the diagram. We'd need components Mary Motors. Doesn't sell to the public. I can source them, Thornton said, discreetly. For the next 5 days, the center's main workshop transformed into a secret laboratory. Thornton restricted access to essential personnel only, installing temporary privacy screens to hide their work from visitors. Lily worked tirelessly alongside the center's most skilled instructors, her small hands confidently assembling circuitry. That would challenge university engineering students. Late one evening, as most of the staff had gone home, Thornton found Lily alone in the workshop, hunched over a circuit board with a magnifying glass. You need rest, he said gently. You've been at this for 14 hours straight. Lily didn't look up. Almost done with the primary interface, just need to... Thornton placed a hand on her shoulder. Lily, stop. Something in his tone made her finally pause and look up. Her eyes were red-rimmed from strain. Your father wouldn't want you driving yourself like this, Thornton said, pulling up a stool beside her. I didn't know him, but I know that much. Lily set down her tools reluctantly. Every day we wait is another day they might hurt someone else or threaten Grandma again. I've taken care of your grandmother, Thornton assured her. I've moved her to a private facility under a different name with round-the-clock security. Wells can't touch her now. Relief washed over Lily's face. Thank you. Now it's your turn to take care of yourself. Thornton gestured toward the exit. Go home. Sleep. The circuit boards will still be here tomorrow. Asterisk. As they prepared to leave, Lily's phone buzzed with a news alert. Harrison Wells had scheduled a major press conference for the following day to announce a revolutionary safety system being implemented across all Millionaire Motors vehicles. "They're going public with it," Lily whispered, showing Thornton the screen. "They're releasing the system with the back door still in it." Thornton's expression hardened. "We need to accelerate our timeline. The demonstration isn't ready. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be convincing enough to get the authorities to issue a temporary injunction against the system's deployment." Thornton was already calling his legal team. "If we can delay Wells long enough to complete our investigation, his..." Words were interrupted by the center's security alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the building as the automated system announced a perimeter breach. Thornton immediately pulled up the security camera feed on his tablet. "3 men, east entrance," he reported tersely. "They're trying to bypass the lock." Lily's blood ran cold. "They're here for our prototype. We need to get out, now." Thornton grabbed the central processor for their demonstration model, a small black box with custom circuitry, and thrust it into Lily's backpack. "Take this and go. Out through the service exit. My driver is still in the parking lot. Tell him to take you to Protocol House." "What about you?" "I'll delete the design files and meet you there." When Lily hesitated, he added firmly, "Go, Lily. This is what your father would want." Heart pounding, Lily slipped through the darkened workshop toward the service corridor. Behind her, she could hear the main doors being forced open, followed by Thornton's voice challenging the intruders. She wanted desperately to turn back, but the weight of the processor in her backpack reminded her of what was at stake. The service exit led to a narrow alley behind the building. Thornton's driver, a former military man named Steve, was already waiting with the car running, alerted by the security system. "Where's Mr. Thornton?" he asked, as Lily scrambled into the back seat. "Still inside. He said to take me to Protocol House." Steve nodded grimly and pulled away from the curb, just as shouts erupted from the center's main entrance. In the rearview mirror, Lily caught a glimpse of police cars arriving, their lights painting the night in red and blue streaks. Protocol House turned out to be a nondescript brownstone in a quiet neighborhood, one of several safe houses Thornton maintained throughout the city. Inside, a housekeeper named Mrs. Chen showed Lily to a bedroom that looked prepared for such emergencies, complete with basic toiletries and clothes in approximately her size. "Mr. Thornton will contact us when it's safe," Mrs. Chen assured her. "Try to rest." Rest, however, proved impossible. Lily paced the room, clutching her phone, waiting for news from Thornton. An hour passed, then 2. Finally, shortly after midnight, a text arrived. "All clear. Intruders arrested. Coming to get you." When Thornton arrived 30 minutes later, his normally immaculate appearance was disheveled. A bruise was forming along his jawline. "What happened?" Lily gasped. "Our friends from Millionaire Motors decided to pay an unscheduled visit," Thornton explained, settling heavily into an armchair. "They claimed they were investigating reports of stolen intellectual property. They were trying to plant evidence," Lily guessed. "Most likely. Fortunately, our security system recorded everything, and I had the police on speed dial." Thornton managed a tired smile. The officers were particularly interested in the crowbars and electronic lock-picking equipment the investigators brought with them. The encounter at the center made headlines the next morning. "Break-in at future garage. Thwarted." Millionaire Motors issued a statement denying any connection to the individuals arrested, describing them as independent contractors performing routine corporate security assessments. Harrison Wells' planned press conference was hastily rescheduled, then postponed indefinitely as the company dealt with the public relations fallout. The delay gave Lily and Thornton precious time to complete their demonstration model. 2 days later, they presented their evidence to Assistant State Attorney General Sofia Ramirez. The meeting took place at Thornton's corporate headquarters, with enhanced security, and Thornton's full legal team present. Lily, dressed in her cleanest overalls with the Future Garage logo, stood beside a table holding their demonstration unit. Despite Thornton's coaching, she was visibly nervous facing the government officials. "Miss Morgan," Ramirez began gently, "I understand you have information regarding safety concerns within a Merimota's system." Lily nodded, then found her voice. "My dad, Jack Morgan, discovered something dangerous in a system called Project Guardian. When he tried to fix it, something bad happened to him." She glanced at Thornton, who nodded encouragingly. "We rebuilt part of the system to show you what he found." With steady hands that belied her age, Lily activated the demonstration unit. On a connected monitor, a simulation displayed a vehicle approaching an obstacle. The Guardian system engaged correctly, applying brakes to avoid collision. "This is how it's supposed to work," she explained, "but there's a secret door built in." She pointed to a specific circuit path. "These green wires connect to a hidden receiver. With the right signal, someone outside the car can take control, disable the brakes, even accelerate." Ramirez leaned forward, clearly intrigued. "And you believe this back door contributed to your father's accident?" Thornton intervened, presenting Barnes's documents and the evidence they'd gathered about the fire at the center. "We have reason to believe Jack Morgan was silenced when he discovered this vulnerability, and that efforts to suppress this information continue." The Assistant Attorney General examined the materials carefully. "This warrants investigation, certainly. But I must caution you, these are serious allegations against a major employer in our state. We'll need more than circumstantial evidence to take action." "What about the people who could be hurt if this system goes into production?" Lily asked, her voice rising slightly. "My daddy wanted to save lives, not put them in danger." Ramirez regarded the young girl with a mixture of sympathy and admiration. "I understand your concern, Miss Morgan. I promise you we will investigate thoroughly." She gathered the documents. "In the meantime, I can request a regulatory review that might delay implementation." It wasn't the immediate action they'd hoped for, but it was a start. As they left the meeting, Thornton placed a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. "You did well in there. Your father would be proud." "But will it be enough?" Lily asked, her eyes troubled. "It's a first step," Thornton replied. "Sometimes that's all we get." News of the regulatory review sent shockwaves through Merimota's. Harrison Wells called an emergency executive session, barring even assistance from the room. "Someone talked," he announced to the assembled executives. "Someone with detailed knowledge of Project Guardian's architecture." "Barnes," suggested the chief technology officer. "He's still missing." "Find him," Wells ordered, "and prepare contingency statements about the back door. We'll call it an administrative access portal for software updates and emergency services." Eleanor Blackwood, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "Harrison, if this system has the vulnerability the Morgan girl described, we cannot, legally or ethically, deploy it." "The vulnerability is a feature, Eleanor," Wells countered. "Every automotive AI system has override capabilities. We're not unique." "But most disclose those capabilities to regulators," she persisted. "Did we?" The uncomfortable silence that followed was answer enough. "I move that we suspend deployment pending a complete safety review," Blackwood stated formally, "and that we cooperate fully with the Attorney General's investigation." The motion. Carried by a narrow margin, with Wells barely concealing his fury. As the meeting dispersed, he remained alone in the boardroom, staring out at the Detroit skyline. Everything he'd built was at risk. His reputation, his legacy, his control of Merimota's. All because of a child who wouldn't let go of the past. His phone rang, a private number he rarely used. The voice on the other end was terse. "We have a problem with Barnes. He's prepared to go public tomorrow." Wells closed his eyes briefly. "Handle it, whatever it costs." At the Future Garage Center, the mood was cautiously optimistic. The regulatory review had temporarily halted Project Guardian's deployment, and Thornton's legal team was preparing for what might become a lengthy legal battle. Lily had returned to teaching at the center, finding comfort in the routine and in helping others. One evening, as she was demonstrating carburetor adjustments to a group of teenagers, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Her hands froze as she read the headline, "A Merry Motors whistleblower found prepared to testify." She immediately sought out Thornton, who was already watching the breaking news in his office. Edward Barnes had emerged from hiding, accompanied by attorneys from a prestigious firm specializing in corporate whistleblower cases. He was scheduled to give a formal statement the following day regarding systemic safety violations at a Merry Motors. "This changes everything," Thornton said, his excitement evident. "Barnes has direct knowledge of the project. If he corroborates our claims publicly..." The center's security system interrupted with an urgent alert. "Perimeter breach detected. Multiple access points." Thornton quickly pulled up the security feed. "It's not a Merry Motors this time," he said grimly. "It's the FBI." Moments later, agents entered the building, presenting a warrant to search the premises and seize all materials related to Project Guardian. The lead agent approached Thornton and Lily. "Mr. Thornton, Miss Morgan, we have reason to believe you're in possession of proprietary technology belonging to a Merry Motors. We're here to secure that technology pending investigation of industrial espionage charges." "Espionage," Thornton repeated incredulously. "We're the ones who reported safety concerns." "Sir, I'm just executing a warrant," the agent replied professionally. "You'll have an opportunity to address these matters in court." As agents began boxing up their prototype and documentation, Lily noticed something odd. The lead agent deliberately looked away when a junior agent mishandled their main demonstration unit, accidentally dropping it. The delicate circuitry inside shattered audibly. "That was evidence," Lily protested. "Careful with the equipment, Agent Rodriguez," the lead agent said without conviction. "My apologies, Miss Morgan. Accidents happen." The message was clear. Someone powerful wanted their evidence destroyed. The raid continued for hours, with agents confiscating computers, documents, and every trace of their work on Project Guardian. By the time they departed, the center had been effectively stripped of anything related to Jack Morgan's safety system. In the aftermath, Thornton paced his office furiously. "This is Wells pulling strings. He has friends in high places." "What do we do now?" Lily asked, her voice small but determined. Thornton stopped pacing and looked at her thoughtfully. "They took our prototype, they took our documents, but they can't take what's in here." He tapped her forehead gently. "You understand your father's system better than anyone. You can rebuild it." "But the grand reopening is tomorrow," Lily reminded him. "Everyone will be there, the press, the community. We were going to announce the safety review." A slow smile spread across Thornton's face. "Exactly. The perfect opportunity to show the world exactly what your father discovered. Live, though with everyone watching." Lily's eyes widened as she grasped his meaning. "They can't stop us if it's already public." "Precisely." Thornton checked his watch. "We have 18 hours. Can you rebuild a simplified demonstration by then?" Lily considered the challenge, mentally cataloguing the components they would need. "Yes, but I'll need help." "You'll have it," Thornton promised. "Every resource I have is at your disposal." Through the night, Lily worked with a small team of the center's most trusted instructors. Using parts salvaged from the workshop and components Thornton's people sourced from various suppliers, they constructed a new demonstration unit, simpler than the original but sufficient to illustrate the backdoor vulnerability. By dawn, exhausted but triumphant, Lily tested the system. It worked perfectly. As the morning sun spilled through the workshop windows, she finally allowed herself a moment of rest, curling up on a cot Thornton had brought in. Her last thought before drifting to sleep was of her father, and how proud he would be to see her carrying forward his mission of making vehicles truly safe. She was awakened a few hours later by Thornton gently shaking her shoulder. "It's time." "Lily, The guests are arriving, Owa. Asterisk. The grand reopening ceremony was larger than anyone had anticipated. News of the FBI raid had only intensified public interest, and hundreds of supporters gathered outside the center. Inside, the main workshop had been transformed with decorations, a stage for presentations and seating for media and special guests. Asterisk. Among those guests, seated in the front row in her wheelchair, was Martha Morgan. Thornton had arranged for her to attend with medical supervision, knowing how important her presence would be for Lily. Asterisk. As Lily took the stage alongside Thornton, her gaze locked with her grandmother's. Martha's eyes, unusually clear today, shone with recognition and pride. In that moment, Lily found the courage she needed for what came next. Asterisk. Thornton addressed the crowd first, thanking them for their support through the center's challenges. Then, instead of the planned celebratory speech, he took an unexpected turn. Today, we're not just reopening a building, we're opening the door to truth. He looked directly at the assembled media. 2 years ago, Jack Morgan, a brilliant engineer and Lily's father, discovered a dangerous flaw in the safety system he helped design. When he tried to correct it, he suffered a tragic accident. We believe that accident was no accident at all. Asterisk A. Murmur ran through the audience. Camera lights intensified. Yesterday, federal agents confiscated our evidence of this safety flaw, a hidden backdoor that could allow remote control of vehicles equipped with a Merry Motors Guardian system. Thornton gestured to a screen behind him. But they couldn't confiscate the truth, and today Lily Morgan is going to show you that truth herself. Asterisk. Lily stepped forward, suddenly aware of all the eyes upon her. For a brief moment, stage fright threatened to overwhelm her. Then she spotted Darnell in the crowd, giving her an encouraging thumbs up. Next to him stood Edward Barnes, who had arrived unannounced, nodding solemnly. Asterisk. Drawing a deep breath, Lily began her demonstration. A hush fell over the audience as Lily activated the demonstration unit. On the large screen behind her, a simplified simulation displayed a vehicle approaching an intersection. The Guardian safety system engaged properly, bringing the vehicle to a smooth stop as a pedestrian crossed. "This is how my daddy's system was supposed to work," Lily explained, her voice gaining strength. "It detects danger and protects people." Asterisk. She then connected a small device to the system, a receiver built with the green wires that had become symbolic of their investigation. "But there's a secret door hidden in the system. With the right signal, someone outside the car can take control." Asterisk. 2. Demonstrate. She activated a separate transmitter. The audience gasped as the simulated vehicle suddenly accelerated through the intersection, bypassing the safety protocols entirely. "This back door isn't in the official design," Lily continued. "It's not in any of the safety documentation, but it's in every Guardian unit a Merry Motors plan to install in their vehicles." Asterisk. The media representatives frantically took notes and captured footage. In the front row, Martha Morgan watched with tears streaming down her face, a moment of complete lucidity, allowing her to comprehend the significance of her granddaughter's demonstration. Asterisk. Edward Barnes stood up from his seat. "I can confirm everything Miss Morgan has shown you," he announced loudly. "As a former senior engineer on Project Guardian, I witnessed the deliberate installation of this backdoor feature against Jack Morgan's explicit objections." Asterisk. Camera operators swung to capture Barnes's unexpected testimony. The planned reopening ceremony had transformed into something far more significant, a public whistleblowing event being broadcast live across multiple networks. Asterisk. Lily wasn't finished. She activated a slide presentation showing the melted green wire from the center's fire, her father's notebook warning, and the technical diagrams revealing the back door's implementation. "My father discovered this right before his accident," she said, her voice steady despite the emotion behind her words. "He was trying to fix it, to make people safe." Asterisk. Thornton stepped forward to support her narrative. "We have reason to believe that Jack Morgan's accident was deliberately caused to prevent him from exposing this vulnerability, and that the fire at our center was a similar attempt to silence his daughter." Asterisk. Before the audience could fully process these allegations, the doors at the back of the hall burst open. Harrison Wells strode in, flanked by security personnel and lawyers. "This is outrageous," he shouted, advancing toward the stage. "These are baseless accusations against a reputable company. That demonstration is a crude fabrication designed to harm a Merry Motors reputation." Thornton stood his ground. "The Attorney General's office is already investigating, Wells. Your intimidation tactics won't work anymore." Wells turned to address the media directly. "This is industrial sabotage, plain and simple. Robert Thornton is a competitor who stands to gain from damaging our safety reputation." "Is that why you had people break into our center?" Lily challenged, stepping forward despite Thornton's protective gesture. "Is that why you threatened my grandmother's care?" The boldness of the 7-year-old confronting the powerful CEO created an electric moment that photographers captured eagerly. Wells seemed momentarily stunned by her direct accusation. Recovering quickly, he adopted a condescending tone. "Young lady, you clearly don't understand the complexities of automotive safety systems. What you're calling a backdoor is a standard emergency access protocol. Then why isn't it in any of the safety documentation?" Edward Barnes called out, approaching the stage. "Why was Jack Morgan's attempt to document it overruled by executive decision?" Wells' face reddened. "Barnes, you signed confidentiality agreements. You're violating. Whistleblower protections supersede those agreements," Barnes interrupted, "when public safety is at risk." The confrontation might have escalated further, if not for the arrival of Assistant Attorney General Ramirez, who entered with several officials in tow. "Mr. Wells," she announced crisply, "in light of new evidence provided by Mr. Barnes and corroborated by Miss Morgan's demonstration, I'm issuing an immediate injunction against deployment of the Guardian system pending a full investigation." She turned to address the stunned audience. "My office has also launched an inquiry into potential corporate negligence related to Jack Morgan's accident, as well as the recent fire at this facility." Looking directly at Wells, she added, "I advise all parties to preserve all relevant documents and communications." Wells' lawyers immediately surrounded him, speaking urgently in hushed tones. The CEO's confident demeanor had crumbled, replaced by barely contained panic. Eleanor Blackwood, who had been watching from near the entrance, approached Wells. "The board will be convening an emergency session, Harrison. I suggest you prepare to address these allegations directly." As Wells and his entourage retreated from the hall, spontaneous applause erupted. The audience rose to their feet, cheering for Lily, whose simple demonstration had cracked open a corporate conspiracy. Amid the commotion, Lily made her way through the crowd to her grandmother's wheelchair. Martha reached up with trembling hands to cup her granddaughter's face. "Jack always said you were the one who could hear the truth," Martha said, her eyes unusually clear. "He would be so proud, Lily Pad." The endearment, her father's special nickname for her, brought tears to Lily's eyes. For a brief, precious moment, Martha was fully present, the fog of dementia temporarily lifted by the significance of the event. In the days that followed, the story dominated national headlines. "Child prodigy exposes automotive safety scandal," proclaimed the Detroit Free Press. Television news programs ran special segments on Jack Morgan's original safety vision and the corporate corruption that had undermined it. Harrison Wells was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation, and a Merry Motors' stock plummeted as investors reacted to the potential liability and damaged reputation. Edward Barnes provided extensive testimony to federal investigators, revealing a pattern of safety compromises driven by profit motives. At the Future Garage Center, the aftermath brought both challenges and opportunities. Some corporate sponsors withdrew, uncomfortable with the center's new reputation for corporate accountability. But individual donations surged, along with applications from students and volunteer instructors. Thornton called a staff meeting to address their path forward. "We're at a crossroads," he acknowledged. "The easy path would be to accept a Merry Motors settlement offer, which their lawyers presented this morning, and agree to certain limitations on our public statements." "How much?" someone asked. 20. "$1 million," Thornton replied. Contingent on confidentiality provisions. Asterisk murmurs rippled through the assembled staff. It was an enormous sum that would secure the center's financial future for years. And if we don't take it? Darnell asked. Then we continue as we are. Independent, outspoken, but with less certain funding. Asterisk all eyes turned to Lily, who had been listening quietly. Despite her youth, everyone recognized that this decision ultimately belonged to her. My daddy didn't believe in silence, she said simply. Neither do I. Asterisk Thornton smiled, as if he'd expected nothing less. Then we keep our voice and we find another way. Asterisk that other way emerged in the coming months. As the legal proceedings against Millionaire Motors continued, students and graduates from the Future Garage Center began establishing satellite workshops in other communities. These weren't franchises or corporate expansions, but independent operations, sharing the center's ethos of accessible education and ethical engineering. Asterisk. By the 6-month anniversary of the reopening, 12 such satellite centers were operating across 5 states. Each maintained its autonomy while adhering to a shared set of principles drafted collectively and nicknamed the Morgan Standards, emphasizing transparency, safety, and the belief that mechanical expertise could come from unexpected sources. Asterisk the original center in Detroit evolved as well. With Lily's guidance, they established a dedicated safety testing facility where automotive manufacturers could voluntarily submit new systems for independent review. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when Millionaire Motors, under new leadership following Wells' resignation, became one of the first companies to participate. Asterisk. For Lily personally, the aftermath brought significant changes. A trust was established from the proceeds of a book about her father's work, providing for her education and Martha's continued care. Child welfare authorities, initially concerned about her unusual living situation, approved a guardianship arrangement where she lived primarily with a vetted foster family while maintaining her role at the center under appropriate supervision. Asterisk. Most importantly, she began experiencing moments of childhood that had previously been sacrificed to her responsibilities. She joined a robotics club at school, made friends her own age, and occasionally allowed herself the luxury of working on projects simply because they were fun, not because they served a larger mission. Asterisk one crisp autumn afternoon, 3 years. After the dramatic reopening, 16-year-old Darnell, now a paid instructor at the center, found Lily in the memorial room that had been established to honor Jack Morgan. At 10 years old, she was still small for her age, but there was a quiet confidence in her bearing that commanded respect from people 3 times her senior. Asterisk. She stood before a display case containing the original green wire from the fire preserved, alongside her father's notebooks and a photograph of him in his racing days. Ms. Ramirez called, Darnell said, using the title Lily had earned despite her youth. The final settlement is approved. Millionaire Motors will be implementing your father's original safety system, the real one without the back door, in all their vehicles starting next year. Asterisk Lily nodded, unsurprised. The legal battles had been lengthy, but ultimately successful. They're calling it the Morgan Guardian System, she said. Daddy would have liked that. Your grandmother would have been proud too, Darnell added gently. Asterisk Martha had passed peacefully in her sleep the previous winter, during a period of stability, where she had recognized Lily consistently for several weeks, a precious gift after years of cognitive decline. She knew, Lily said with quiet certainty. At the end, she knew we'd fixed what was broken. Asterisk. They stood in companionable silence for a moment before Darnell remembered his original purpose. Almost forgot. The new group from Chicago is here for their training. They're pretty nervous about meeting the famous Lily Morgan. Asterisk Lily laughed, a sound that had become more frequent as the weight of her mission gradually lightened. Tell them I'm just a girl who listens to engines. And people, Darnell added. Don't forget that part. Asterisk. As they walked toward the main workshop, Lily passed a framed photograph taken on the day of the reopening, her small figure standing defiantly next to Thornton as they faced down Harrison Wells. Beneath it was a plaque with words she had spoken that day, now the center's unofficial motto. My father taught me that every engine has a voice, but they also have silences. I listened to both. Asterisk. The workshop hummed with activity. Students of all ages bent over engines, computers, and design tables. Robert Thornton, who now divided his time between his corporate responsibilities and the center, was demonstrating a new diagnostic technique to a group of teenagers. Asterisk. He caught Lily's eye and smiled warmly. Their relationship had evolved from patron and prodigy to something more familial. Though not her legal guardian, he had become a consistent presence in her life, attending school functions, celebrating birthdays, offering guidance without attempting to replace the father she had lost. "Everyone," Thornton called out, "please welcome our Chicago team, who'll be establishing the 14th Independent Future Garage satellite next month." Asterisk. The visitors, 3 women and 2 men from diverse backgrounds, looked around the facility with obvious admiration. Their spokesperson, a former auto worker who had lost her job when her plant closed, stepped forward. "We can't thank you enough for this opportunity," she said. "Our neighborhood has been struggling since the factory shut down. This center will give our young people a future." "That's what we're all about," Lily replied. "Second chances, new beginnings." Asterisk. As she began showing the visitors around the facility, a young boy trailing behind the group caught her attention. About 7 years old, with serious eyes and oil-stained hands, he reminded her powerfully of herself when she'd first encountered Thornton's broken supercar. "You like engines?" she asked him gently. Asterisk. He nodded shyly. "My mum says I'm always taking things apart." "Me too," Lily confided, kneeling to his level. "Want to see something cool?" Asterisk. She led him to a special workstation designed for younger students, with tools, sized for smaller hands. From a drawer she extracted an old timing belt, the same one her father had given her on her 5th birthday, now preserved as a teaching tool. "This is where every engine's heartbeat comes from," she explained, placing it in his hands. "If you listen carefully, it'll tell you all its secrets." Asterisk. The boy's eyes widened with wonder as he examined the belt. "I think I hear it," he whispered. Asterisk. Lily smiled, recognizing in him the same spark that had defined her own journey. "Then you're already on your way." Asterisk. Later that evening, after the visitors had departed and the day's classes had ended, Lily climbed the stairs to the center's rooftop observation deck. The setting sun bathed Detroit's skyline in golden light, the city's automotive heritage represented in the factories and headquarters visible in the distance. Asterisk. Robert Thornton joined her, offering a mug of hot chocolate, a tradition they had, established for marking significant milestones. 14 centers now, he remarked, with Chicago joining next month. Not bad for 3 years' work. "And they're all doing it their own way," Lily added with satisfaction, "just like we planned." Asterisk. They sipped their drinks in comfortable silence, watching the city lights begin to twinkle as dusk descended. "Your father once told me something important," Martha had said during one of her last lucid periods. He said, "Engines don't just run on fuel, they run on trust. The driver trusts that when they turn the key, everything will work as promised." Asterisk. Lily had carried those words with her, understanding more deeply as she grew older that her fight had never been just about a safety system or corporate malfeasance. It had been about restoring that fundamental trust between makers and users, between teachers and students, between one generation and the next. Asterisk. The Future Garage Center had become more than a memorial to Jack Morgan, or a platform for his daughter's extraordinary talents. It had evolved into a movement, a philosophy that was quietly transforming how people thought about technology, expertise, and community. Asterisk. Lily Morgan would never be a normal child. Her experiences had shaped her too profoundly for that. But she had found something perhaps more valuable: purpose. Not the desperate, driven purpose that had consumed her in the early days after her father's accident, but something more sustainable. The calm, steady conviction that comes from knowing exactly where you belong and what you're meant to do. Asterisk. As Darkness fell completely over Detroit. Thornton checked his watch. "We should head down. The documentary crew will be here early tomorrow." Lily nodded. The center's story was being featured in a special on American innovation, focusing on how grassroots education was revitalizing communities abandoned by traditional manufacturing. "One more minute," she requested, gazing out at the city. Inn. That quiet moment, she felt a connection to everything that had brought her to this point. Her father's gift and his sacrifice, her grandmother's steadfast love, Thornton's belief in her vision, and the community that had rallied around a child who could hear what others couldn't. "We fixed it, Daddy," she whispered to the night sky, "just like you taught me." With that private acknowledgement, she turned to follow Thornton downstairs, ready for whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. The girl who heard engines had grown into something more, a listener, a teacher, a bridge between the world as it was and the world as it could be. And wherever there were machines running silent that should be speaking, or people with voices that deserved to be heard, Lily Morgan would be there, listening carefully, making broken things whole again. "While there'll always be engines that need fixing," she once told a reporter who asked about her future plans, "it's the people behind them that matter."